I probably don't need to tell you how influential Dragon Ball is. If you're familiar with this scene or you recognize this line,
"It's over 9,000!
Then you've either seen the show yourself or you're a prime example of just how thoroughly the franchise has permeated our popular culture. In the 32 years since its creation, the Dragon Ball series has become a cornerstone of the animation medium, the action genre, and even the nation of Japan as a whole. It's not the only series that's left a huge mark on world culture, but it's inspired so many people and so many other pieces of media that it's undeniably one of the biggest. After more than 3 decades, though, the action that's defined the series has seen more than a few ups and downs. In particular, the introduction of the Super Saiyan marked the beginning of a massive snowball effect that made pivotal fights less tense and the stakes of those conflicts far less meaningful. There are still great moments, to be sure, but I think the series' massive popularity and marketing potential have caused the essence of Dragon Ball to become heavily diluted over time. So let's go back to before all that. Before gods of destruction, before evil genies and time-traveling teenagers, let's go back even before the Super Saiyan and take a look at my personal favorite fight in all of Dragon Ball. First, allow me to set the stage. Our protagonist, Son Goku, has sacrificed himself in order to allow his old rival Piccolo to ensure the death of Goku's own brother, Raditz. Raditz is a member of a powerful alien race known as the Saiyans, and his comrades are on their way to Earth to exact vengeance upon the entire planet. The rest of the cast has 1 year to prepare to face these new threats, both of whom are known to be even more powerful than Raditz was. Meanwhile, Goku is running through the afterlife as fast as he can to train with the legendary King Kai, so that he might be strong enough to come back and help protect his home from these invaders. Skip ahead to the day the Saiyans finally arrive. The living character's training is complete, but no one has any idea if it'll actually do any good. After all, if Goku couldn't even survive to beat Raditz, what hope do the rest of them have against even more fearsome opponents? Unfortunately, their worst fears are realized when the weaker of the two, Nappa, sees to the deaths of 4 of the present combatants, while his superior Vegeta just stands back and watches. Just when things are at their most dire, though, Goku finally arrives and immediately turns the tide of the battle. This is where we get that infamous and slightly mistranslated line quantifying his huge increase in power. I also think that Goku's single-handed decimation of Nappa is where a lot of people might see the beginning of future tendencies for everyone to wait around for Goku to show up and beat the villain. But it works well here for a couple of reasons. First, that is literally what the heroes do. They play to the Saiyans' pride and lust for battle and convince them to wait for their strongest ally to get there. They manage to buy themselves a few more hours by using what they've learned about their enemies to their advantage. Even then, though, Goku still doesn't make it in time, which just raises the tension even higher. Second, Nappa isn't the main villain. He's not some autonomous force that just decides not to kill everyone for no reason. He wants to kill Gohan and Krillin right then and there, but Vegeta gives him explicit orders to stand down and abide by the agreement. He's a minion whose primary purpose is to act as a point of reference for his own power, Goku's power, and Vegeta's power even beyond that. This is a technique called jobbing, which is a real term in professional wrestling, and it extends far beyond Dragon Ball. Having a character that the audience knows is powerful be defeated like this creates far more context than arbitrary numbers ever could, and it gives us a hint as to just how explosive the fight to come is going to be. Okay, so let's recap. On one side, we have the freshly revived and newly trained Goku, as well as the thoroughly terrified Gohan and Krillin, and Yajirobe's hiding behind some rocks. On the other side, we have the Saiyan elite, Vegeta, who has just killed Nappa for his incompetence. Now, the fate of the planet hinges entirely on this one last battle. And it's fantastic. The fight against Vegeta fills up 11 chapters of the original manga, or 6 episodes of the original anime. Even in the more faithful and streamlined adaptation, Dragon Ball Z Kai, the fight still takes up the better part of 4 entire episodes. This fight is big, and it's anyone's game right up until the very end. At first, things are pretty straightforward. Even in spite of his intense training and massive power increase, Goku struggles to be a match for Vegeta. The Kaioken technique is a huge boon, but it takes Goku pushing himself literally beyond the point of breaking to actually get Vegeta to feel like he might lose. Then, Vegeta pulls out his trump card as he transforms into the Great Ape and proceeds to lay waste to Goku and is prepared to do the same to the others. Yajirobe jumps out of hiding and manages to cut off Vegeta's tail, but the Saiyan forces the same transformation on Gohan, which leads to a monumental rampage that threatens to cause even more destruction. Fortunately, that backfires, causing Vegeta to be crushed by an enormous monkey toddler, but that still isn't enough to even knock him unconscious. At this point, the fight essentially ends without a real winner, but for now, the Earthlings have managed to drive off their would-be conqueror. This battle against Vegeta is a perfect example of a hollow victory. The heroes are able to repel the space alien warrior, but it comes at a huge cost. It's also one of just a few instances in Dragon Ball where victory isn't achieved by a miraculous show of force. As the series continues, the stories become more and more about explosive one-on-one fights that rely on someone, usually Goku, just being strong enough to eliminate the enemy. Here, though, Goku objectively isn't strong enough. He pushes himself to his absolute limit, and it still pales in comparison to what Vegeta's capable of. The heroes don't win by exploiting Vegeta's weaknesses either. It's a well-known fact that Vegeta is a character who's easily blinded by his own pride and arrogance, but those aren't the things that stand in his way here. Sure, he could have handled things differently before Goku arrived in the first place, but in the end he loses because he was blindsided by factors he had no reason to expect. From his perspective, the Kaioken and the Spirit Bomb come completely out of nowhere, and he had absolutely no reason to think that a rotund little samurai would jump out from behind a rock and cut off his tail. Goku, Krillin, Gohan, and Yajirobe win by fighting dirty because that's the only option they have. It's not a noble or satisfying victory, but it ensures their survival. And against an enemy like Vegeta, that's really all they can hope for. Thanks for watching. Dragon Ball is a huge part of a lot of people's lives, and I really enjoyed digging deep into it and exploring what makes it so timeless. I'm curious to hear what you thought about this fight, and I'd also love to hear about your own favorite moments in Dragon Ball. Be sure to let me know. Now, here's a hint about what you can expect to see next time. See you then.
Oh, man.
Hey, what happened to sleeping?
Okay, I know it doesn't look like it, but this here is not a bad read. Only one problem. Right there. To be continued. Hey, Clay.